Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman. This is Liberty Roundtable live for the 21st of May, 2025. James Edwards, thepoliticalcesspool.org. Yours truly, breaking down the news as we see it. Sam Bushman, absolutely incensed and coming unglued. James says it's nothing but par for the course. It matters, but not really. And I'm saying, hey, wait, hold on. Now Donald Trump on Capitol Hill saying Joe's not guilty. Joe's the good dude. Everybody around Joe was bad, but hey, no prosecutions, no accountability whatsoever. So we're going to babble about that in the news. It's kind of like lock up Hillary. It's a big old babble statement. There's no real fact or reality behind it that I can see of any kind. And I wish there was some accountability and transparency because it's got to stop. But right now, Donald Trump is literally playing the, kind of crime boss, rolling into Congress and saying, hey, you better sign the bill. You better go along. If you don't, you're a fool. You're a clown. Donald was asked about it in the media right after the visit to Congress or to the House. Here it is.
Mr. President, what was your message to lawmakers?
We just had it was really a meeting of unity. We had tremendous unity. There's a lot of love in the room, and I think we're going to have a big victory.
What's your message to Republicans who don't support this bill?
I think anybody that didn't support it as a Republican, I would consider to be a fool. It's a great bill. It's a great bill for America, more importantly. Thank you very much, everybody.
How involved are you going to be in terms of whipping up the vote? Are you going to be calling them?
I think we're in good shape. I don't know. I can't tell you that, but this was a meeting of love. There's great unity in that room, and it's the biggest tax cut in American history. And if it doesn't pass, everybody's going to get a 68% tax increase. I don't know how you beat that. Also, one other thing, you're going to get an 85% reduction in drugs. 85% reduction. Not 1/4%, not an increase. The Democrats, you're going to pay 25% more for drugs. With me, because of what I've instituted, favored nations, the people of America, it's about time, going to get an 85% reduction. They're going to be paying the lowest price in the world.
How important is this for your agenda? You've been able to do a lot through executive action. How important is it to have this piece of legislation for your agenda and your legacy?
It's very important. It's important for the country. It's not important for me. It's important for the country. This is the greatest bill that will ever, I think it's the most important bill this country just about has ever done in terms of size and scope. That's why we call it the great, big, beautiful deal. I mean, it really is. The bill is, I think it's going to be one of the most important. It's the biggest tax reduction in history, biggest regulation reduction in history. Incredible for Medicaid, for Medicare. The only thing, we're going to leave it exactly as it was, other than for obviously waste, fraud, and abuse. We're strengthening it. We're going to make these things even stronger. The Democrats are going to destroy Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And we're going to keep them, but even make them stronger.
How are the talks going?
Say it?
Those new sanctions on Russia like the EU is?
Well, we're looking at a lot of things, but we'll see. I had a very good talk yesterday with President Putin. We'll see how that comes out. They're talking right now. We'll see how.
Are you planning to meet? Are you going to meet?
Say it?
What about Pope Leo? Why the Vatican, sir, for the negotiation? Why you suggested that?
No, Pope Leo suggested it, and if he'd like to have the talks at the Vatican, I can't think of a better place. I like it. This is a pretty good place too, come to think
Do you
of
like
it.
this American Pope?
But I think I like him. Yeah, I like the Pope, and I like the Pope's brother. You know, one of the Pope's brothers, actually both of them, but one in particular is a major MAGA fan. Did you know that? He lives in Florida. He's got MAGA. He's got Trump. And I look forward to getting him to the White House. I want to shake his hand. I want to give him a big hug. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, there you have it, James. And here's my problem with this. He says, oh, man, you're going to have this massive tax hike if you don't get this done. My response would be, who's responsible for that? And the answer is this. Almost all of the cuts that Republicans hope to pass in the coming weeks will last only until President Trump leaves office. The strategy is an old one for Republicans. Cut taxes for a few years, avoiding the need to account for the long-term cuts. And hey, they hope that Congress will think they're popular enough to continue them. So the question becomes, is Trump's big, beautiful bill nothing but a big, beautiful bust? Republicans have allowed Democrats to take a victory lap on Trump's first 100-plus days. And I'm just telling you right now that I'm blatantly claiming that voters will not be able to trust Republicans at all if they continue to slow walk the MAGA agenda, etc. I look at this thing and I go, man, so taxes are going up because that's what they did to us before. Hey, let it expire. Nothing's permanent in this, and nothing will last beyond the Trump administration. I appreciate the big, beautiful bill. I appreciate the cuts they're working for. But in the end of the day, this thing spends us into oblivion and no one's read it. You comfortable with all that, James? You might as well just do the auto pen and skip the votes then.
Well, taxes and regulations more so than taxes. Taxes have never really been high on my list of priorities. I think you have to triage your priorities as a nation, and figuring out whether or not you're going to survive due to the great replacement is, immigration, securing the border. That's higher. Taxes are important. I mean, I don't like taxes any more than the next guy. How could you not vote for something called the Big Beautiful Bill? But like every member of Congress, I haven't read it. And what I have seen doesn't necessarily sound bad. I'll read you this headline. Dems warn House Republicans will pay a price at the ballot box for passing Trump's big, beautiful bill. So anytime I read something like that, see, the Democrats are just out of the goodness of their hearts are just trying to help Republicans stay in office. They don't want them to make the mistake of voting for this bill and then getting voted out. When the Democrats try to help like that, quote unquote, it means that there's probably something good about this bill that I'm not necessarily keying in on. I mean, what about it that you've read that you dislike?
There's a lot of family things in it. There's a lot of good in it and everything else. It'll stop Planned Parenthood supposedly. My experience is they'll take that out at the last second, so it sounds good, but it's not really there. The problem that I have with this whole thing is how much money are you going to save, listen carefully, within this congressional session? Because understand that after this congressional session, we don't even know who will stay there, right?
Well, and that's to your point about, Trump saying this will
2
expire.
years, and then, hey, somebody else will be there, right?
The whole thing about it expiring at the end of Trump's term, well, if he could say this is going to be a 100-year bill, but I mean, if the Republicans lose in 28, it's not going to matter anyway. But
right. So now you're talking about the truth. So I don't want to hear about cuts over the next 10 years or any of that garbage. I want to know how much cuts you're making between now and the end of 2026. How much money is going to be saved? Does anybody know?
Has any of that been reported? Does the media even know? Because the media certainly hadn't read this bill either.
Well, not that I know of. I can't find it anywhere. Now, I could be wrong. But I want to know how much is going to be saved during this and the next. So 2 years of congressional sessions, if you will, because that's all the current 435 are responsible for in the House, who controls the purse strings. So I only want to hear about the cuts they're going to make on their own watch. Other than that, I'm not interested. How much is that? And the answer is nobody can tell me. And then, see, they're going to attack me for being against the big, beautiful bill, see? Sam's the bad guy in the room now, right?
But you like parts of it. You just don't like the parts you haven't read, which is the other 1,000 pages.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know exactly how many pages this one's going to be, but...
Well, they say it's over 1,000 pages now, so I don't know what it'll be at the end of the day. And I don't know if they're even still changing it or not now. But I look at it, and I don't know how much money will be saved in the next 2 years. This year, 25 and 26. That's all I care about.
What is this? Yeah. What is this? And even more importantly to me than that is, what does this do for me, or to me, or for my family, or to my family? That's all you got
to pass it to know, James. Because they don't know and they haven't read it, and you don't know and I don't know, and we can't even find out.
I've been reading a lot of articles about it, and all the articles are relatively vague about what exactly is in this thing.
You want to know why they're vague?
Probably because people don't know.
Because they don't know. That's right. I mean, you can't, give the details on something you're not,
The New York Times House GOP races to revamp major policy bill So it's talking about the process that's going on in the horse jockey and the horse trading that's going on to get this thing
done. I
done.
want to know how much money I'm going to save on their watch.
That's it. And I'm still reading around trying to find any details on exactly what it is. It's all procedural reports.
You can't
Reports
find it
about the
they
process.
don't know, buddy. They have no idea. You can't report.
I'm going to keep reading while you're talking.
Yeah. We'll take a break and see if we can dig into this. If anybody has an answer, 866-986-NEWS. But I'm telling you right now, you can't know and they don't know. I don't even think Donald knows. I don't even think Mike Johnson or Joaquin Jeffries know.
Who wrote it? Who writes these things that they vote on? Who's the author?
I don't know.
Not the sponsor, but
great questions. Until we get to the bottom of them, we're going to get snookered, I promise.
Bypass the mainstream narrative with Liberty News Radio at libertynewsradio.com. Engage with charismatic hosts live or on demand. We cover the crucial news focused on God, family, and country. News that other networks simply refuse to use. Think of LNR's hard-hitting news and podcasts at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere. Join us at libertynewsradio.com. Empower your day with the truth, because the truth will set you free. libertynewsradio.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't even understand what this big beautiful bill will do. They say it'll help with budgetary reality, whatever. I want to know how much money I'm going to save in the next 2 years. Nobody can tell me that. I find one section that says, hey, for electric vehicles, we're going to get rid of the subsidies. We're going to reduce it from 100% to 95% by 2028. Buddy, you've had a couple of different congressional groups since then. How do you know it'll change? How do we know? They say it'll add up to $4.5 trillion over 10 years. That's not impressive at all. $4.5 trillion in 10 years that could be put off in the next, even after Trump's out, the next 6 years or whatever. Doesn't impress me at all. It means nothing, James. Nothing. It's a lie straight from the pit of hell that means nothing. And if I stand against it, I'm the enemy.
Well, I will say what I have read about this, and again, the details are vague. I was just reminded during the break about one thing that was, I think, one of the bigger changes that this big, beautiful bill would bring about. And I was reminded of that during the break as I continued to speed read through these articles. And that is that the bill would extend the 2017 Trump tax cuts. That was sort of a signature first-term legislative achievement.
So unless you decrease expenditures to match that, you're just borrowing it from your children, James.
Well, but here's one thing, is it would add these tax breaks on income from tips, no tax on tips, and overtime pay, which was, part of the big promise from the campaign trail last year. Now, what they're saying is if you don't tax these tips these waitresses are getting, it's going to add $2 trillion to the federal debt. Don't know about that. But of course, it's never a problem when you're giving $1 trillion to Ukraine to fight a proxy war with Russia, and a war that's none of our concern, really.
But see,
it's
we're
regional.
going to spend it. We're going to increase military spending. We're going to spend $1 trillion on the military-industrial complex. James, they're increasing it.
But this whole no tax on tips, that's a good thing. Now, here's one thing I do like about this.
Is it a good thing? So here's the question. If there's no tax on tips now, am I going to tip less, James?
I'd tip more.
I'd tip less. Because that means they're getting more of it. If I give you a $100 tip and you're taxed $20 on it, you only get 80. Well, I might as well just give you 90, and there's no taxes.
Well, why
so
don't you just tax?
More, and I save $10, right?
Well, why don't you just, to their good for them. I mean, if you still tax your regular if you still tip your regular 15 to 20%, like is the social norm, they get a little bit extra. I mean, I don't think we should cut our. I don't think we should
25%, James.
That's a little bit. 20 is about top end. 20% is a pretty good tip. 15% used to be normal. Then it went to 18. Now it's 20.
If you go to a hotel, they got a mandatory whatever for 22% and stuff all the time.
God, don't I know it? Don't I know it? Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, you don't want to. Well, now that your tips aren't getting taxed, I'm going to lower my tip from 15% to 12%. Give them your regular tip, and they get to keep a couple extra bucks. Good for them. I mean, they work hard. I would never want to deal with the general public ever. It's just.
I would
being
say
a waitress
give them a
or a
real wage
waiter.
and skip tips altogether. Tips were designed in the beginning for a job incredibly well done, and not for basic things. Now they want to basically have me go to the counter. They want to have me pick up my own food at the counter, stand there and order, have no service of any kind, and then they want to go ahead and say, "Hey, do you want to put a tip on here?" And I'm
what's even worse?
What?
That's right. Yeah, buffets now take tips, and everybody takes a tip. I liked.
If you want to tip the Liberty Roundtable jar, go to libertyroundtable.com and just choose donate and tip to your heart's content, people.
Well, definitely, please do that. But yeah, this gratuity for doing nothing, that's another issue. But I'm reading through the code in this, and
You're
here's
really reading through somebody's articulation of the bill, right?
But I can decipher what they're saying here, and I actually like what Trump is trying to do here. It says, this is Reuters reporting, if the legislation is passed, it would reduce some food benefits for low-income Americans, cancel green energy program, and provide tens of billions of dollars for immigration enforcement. Sam, if that's all in this thing, I like all three of those things. Of course, the immigration thing, that's a no-brainer. That would be great if we actually spend some financial resources to secure the border. But this whole thing, reducing food benefits for low-income Americans. Now, what we're talking about here, by and large, are your welfare queens. You're talking about Democratic inner-city base voters who will not work and are sucking off the system. Yes, if you pay taxes, you work and you pay taxes, and you do things the right way, and you have an injury, you have something that is real, that is preventing you from being able to work, there should be a societal safety net for people like that. What typically we're talking about when you're talking about these, have you ever been to the grocery store when somebody's using, what they used to call them food stamps, now they make it look like a credit card. I mean, these are just people that are just leeches, most of them leeches off the system. They can walk, they can do all these things, and they just stay on it forever. So if this bill is going to reduce some of those benefits, cut off some of the, and I think Trump said that in a recent interview about this bill, that the cuts that we're making, a lot of it is just weeding out graft. A lot of it's just weeding out fraud. There's so many people that are getting these welfare benefits that are just, the only reason they're getting it is because they don't want to work. They've gamed the system. Maybe they're a minority and nobody wants to turn them down because that would be racist. And so you've got a lot of that. So if you're cutting some fat out there, you're applying some of this to immigration enforcement, this whole green energy program, good. That's all fake anyway. So again, just reading some of these things.
So I support all that, and I have one question because I'm not very intelligent. So I just have to stick with the simple stuff here, right? I can't handle all the 1,000-page complications that I can't read and nobody else can either. Ignore that fact, but I got this question. These things are great, and they will reduce fraud. They will reduce waste. They will reduce. Okay, great news. Are we doing it by decreasing spending, or are we doing it by putting it on the national debt?
Yeah, well, it has to go one and the other. Yeah, if you're going to,
when you put it on the national debt, you've got that plus interest. Do you realize we spend $1 trillion a year on interest now? $1 trillion on the military and $1 trillion on interest.
Well, that is a very good point. It needs to be one working with the other. You need to be cutting the spending while reducing taxes. If you reduce taxes and
that's what's not
don't
happening.
cut spending,
See,
that's your
Elon Musk
problem.
Said, I'm going to save $2 trillion. Then he came back and said, well, it's probably more like $1 trillion. Now it came back and he's out and he's like, oh, I saved $165 billion. But then
Which
you
is,
got to ask, $165 billion over how long of a time?
Well, any help would be welcomed, but typically you want somebody.
I'm going to save you
to underpromise and overdeliver.
100 years, right? What if I save you trillions of dollars over 100 years? You impressed?
That sounds good.
Except for what if in 5 years I'm not in charge and somebody else guts the whole thing?
Well, that's always the risk in this
it was a 95.
System.
Not if I do it on my watch. Not if I for reals do it.
Well, I mean, you had a lot of these judges that we love so much that were blocking a lot of the things coming out of Doge.
Impeach them.
With regards to
arrest them, throw them in prison.
That I agree with, 100% agree with. But again, you want somebody who will underpromise and overdeliver, as opposed to the opposite, which is of course overpromising, which is what Musk did, and underdelivering.
And I'm telling you this: if I was in Congress and or the president or any ability to control any of this, I would be transparent with the people and I would say, listen, on my watch for the next 2 years, I'm voting for this bill because I'm saving this much money. And I don't mean we were going to increase it 50%, but we only increased it 25%. I'm talking about real dollars and cents reduction. Okay? And I would basically say, this is what's going to happen on my watch. And if I couldn't verify that, I'd vote against it every time.
Well, now, one way you can certainly go a long way into trying to level the playing field with regards to our financial debt is with these tariffs. And Trump has been a little schizophrenic on that. There's been a lot of chicken being played with the global markets, and the tariff rate fluctuates wildly.
For small business, though. I work with a bunch of businesses as the IT guy, and they all want me to help them navigate this complicated world of how to deal with the changes in tariffs. And, we're caught with containers being delivered, and the price changes to where the company loses money on whole containers full of products. And, I've been through all this stuff in a very meaningful reality on the ground way, and it's not fun.
Well, my cousin, listen to this and get ready for this to potentially come to a store near you. My cousin went to a store to buy a pair of pants a couple of days ago, and he looked at the receipt. Pants, I don't know what pants cost, $30, $40. I guess it depends on how nice the pants were. I didn't ask the total price. But he said on the receipt it was, the price of the pants, the tax, and then it said tariff charge $5.60 on one pair of pants. So this is, of course, this company, this store, the department store that he went to, making that you're paying this extra for Trump. And I think it's obviously probably being done in a way to try to make you turn against Trump. Hey, he just cost me $5 more on this pair of pants. But I don't know if that's going to necessarily hurt Trump or hurt these companies that are going to be going after him.
They're probably going to put a sign on the pants now with an arrow that says Trump did that. Like they did the gas pumps for Joe Biden,
I saw those everywhere the last 4 years.
All I'm telling you, folks, is this. I don't think we're saving money. I think we're playing games and manipulating the hearts and minds of the people. And I don't think we're really reducing spending at all. And we're 4 months in, and they're about to start the next election cycle. And really, the Republicans have hardly anything valuable to run on. They've only passed 5 bills since Trump's been in office, and Congress has been there for 5 months. And one bill extended the spending without any cuts for 6 months. They haven't done a thing except ram this country into the ground and play the blame game. We've got to demand real, honest change. Hang tight. More in seconds.
Your daily Liberty News Wire. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump calls it the Golden Dome, a proposed missile defense system designed to shield the continental U.S. from aerial attack.
This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space.
The estimated cost, $175 billion. President's so-called big beautiful bill nearing a vote in the House. In fact, the vote could come as soon as today. Target sales missed the mark.
FactSet says sales at Target fell nearly 3% in the first quarter. That was more than expected. Now the retailer is warning that sales will drop this year as consumers worried about the impact of tariffs cut down on spending. Target says it expects a low single-digit decline in sales for 2025. The company is focusing on customers who are nervous about the economy and high prices. It's offering 10,000 new items, the majority costing less than $20. Target says it's looking at different ways to absorb their cost. I'm Mike Hemp.
5 of the 10 inmates who escaped from a New Orleans jail last Friday have been recaptured. Meanwhile, a jail maintenance worker is under arrest. 33-year-old Sterling Williams accused of helping the inmates make good their escape. Congressman Jerry Connolly has died. The Virginia Democrat died at home this morning. Congressman Jerry Connolly was 75 years old. Watching Wall Street, the Dow is down 305 points, the Nasdaq off 56, and the S&P 27 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. As executive director of Turning Point USA, a national radio host, podcaster, husband, and father of 2, my schedule is about as crazy as it can possibly get. 2 years ago, I made the decision to take control of my health, and I chose PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition because I needed a plan that fit my hectic lifestyle. I travel a lot, and my schedule changes every week, so I need something simple. They customized a plan for my body and my schedule, and I quickly lost 30 pounds. Now I have the energy and focus to get through my busy day. PhD will help you too. They won't let you fail. Just give them a call, schedule your weight loss consultation, and see if their program is right for you. Call 855-696-2020. That's 855-696-2020. The first 11 callers who mention the word healthy will get 2 weeks added to their weight loss package. Call 855-696-2020 and mention the word healthy, or visit them at myphdweightloss.com. That is myphdweightloss.com. It worked for me, and it can work for you. myphdweightloss.com.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government, and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The Foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education, conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing Foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various Foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
I saw something right before coming on with Sam today, 5 minutes before today's live broadcast, and I emailed it over to him, and I said, Sam, if we've got any time over the next 2 hours, maybe we should just touch on this very briefly. And the headline from Reuters reads, Donald Trump Jr. says that calling is there to one day run for president. So, interesting for a lot of reasons, some of which are a little bit personal. I guess it was just his inner soul, his heart is there. Maybe one day, he said, that calling is there. And the report goes on to read that Donald Trump Jr. has emerged as a political force in his own right, that it has been reported that he is the most influential Trump family member in the transition his father has built, his cabinet, and prepared. He's talking about that a lot of people who are in the cabinet now, their fortunes either rose or fell as a result of Trump Jr.'s endorsement or lack thereof. And I give some examples of people that Trump Jr. advanced and denied, J.D. Vance being one. And so you know that they're already selling Trump 2028 hats, and the speculation has been, well, is that because Trump himself, the elder, may run, citing the constitutional question that since he didn't serve consecutive terms, there's a little gray area there, or is it talking about a different Trump? And if it's talking about a different Trump, it would most likely be Donald Trump Jr. Now, we are not using this as an excuse to remind you that we have talked to Donald Trump Jr. before, even on these airwaves. But there is something that I would like Sam's take on, and I think it's pretty interesting, and it was the first thing I thought of when I saw this headline today that Trump Jr. may be considering running for president. And on Donald Trump Jr.'s Wikipedia page, even as of today, after all these years, this is what it reads. On March 1st, 2016, in an interview with white supremacist James Edwards, Donald Trump Jr. Claimed, or rather it was media outlets claimed that Trump Jr. was either a believer in the white genocide conspiracy theory or pretending to be an advocate for political gain. Now, we've talked to you about that before, but what they're talking about right there is specifically what they call the white genocide conspiracy theory. And they questioned that, did he come on Liberty Roundtable, interviewed by Sam Bushman and yours truly, because he believes in some of the things that have been discussed on this network, or is he just pretending to for political gain?
Or maybe it's a third choice. Maybe he wasn't interested in that discussion at all. He wanted to promote his dad for president and get all the coverage they could get, which is probably the truth.
You know, that's interesting because we didn't talk about what they call white genocide conspiracy theory at all. And as a matter of fact, as part of our 20th, TPC's 20th anniversary year was last year, and we had a 12-part series. And once per month, as part of this 12-part series, we did it once a month, we went back to the broadcast archive and played some of the more, notable interviews we've done over the last 2 decades. And one of the installments was the Donald Trump Jr. interview. And I listened to it again last year as part of that special series for the first time in years and years. And it was very good. It was very good, very upbeat, very positive. But they focused on this thing about white genocide conspiracy theory, even though that wasn't something that was talked about in the interview. It's something that defines the interview on his Wikipedia page. If you go there now, you'll find it. But this was to cut to the chase. This is interesting because listen to what his dad, President Trump, said just last week in a press conference responding to the question of why he accelerated a fast track for these Afrikaner refugees from South Africa. Listen to how he answers the question.
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something. But we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of. But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it. If it were the other way around, they'd talk about it. That would be the only story they'd talk about.
So that's interesting, Sam. To me, that was the whole reason in bringing this up is that in the Wikipedia page.
Donald Trump Jr. is right if he's concerned about that. We've talked about this and had people on from Africa. We're concerned about it. It's a truism. Donald Trump's, basically pointing at the media saying you clowns won't talk about it, but it's necessary that we do. I agree with Trump Jr. and I agree with Trump Sr. or, Donald Trump on this. We agree 100%. They tried to make a clown show out of it. Didn't work last time and it won't work this time.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if he does go on and run for president, and if we've got a true dynasty here. I mean, hell, you had it with the Bushes, so why not? I mean, and I would say Donald Trump Jr. is infinitely more qualified than George Bush. I mean, George Bush, there wasn't very much to him at all, and they made him into somebody who could pass as a president. So in terms of his intelligence and political aptitude. So anyway, just interesting that that was the thing that they used to discredit that interview, when now Donald Trump, the president, is literally using the term, it's a genocide and they happen to be white, is how he put it. But yeah, so that, interesting how far things have come in the era of Trump. 10 years ago, this was something that was still a very hot topic. Now it's very mainstream. It's being discussed. It's being debated, and the action is being taken against it. So very good. Very interesting.
Well, and what I wish Trump would do would be say something like this: unless you admit the truth regarding the Afrikaners and the abuse meted out to them by literally the governments over there, I'm not going to come on any of your broadcasts until you guys level on the truth on this. See, Trump needs to start to wield a little bit bigger sword. I appreciate that he's got whitehouse.gov/wire. I've commended him for that.
Yes, you did.
I commended them for creating the whitehouse.gov/new media. Of course, none of us have heard back on that, so how genuine that is another discussion. But at the same time, I think Trump should start to say to these clowns, unless you get it right, I'm just not going to be willing to come on your shows. We're not going to have the administration do interviews. We're not going to. Because if you can't get the most fundamental, basic things right about a whole group of people that are being literally annihilated, I can't trust you to get anything right.
Well, it also does, Sam, and you have to wonder, and all we can do is speculate, but certainly I can tell you this beyond any shadow of a doubt. Now, the MAGA-adjacent tier of media, this tier, underneath Fox News, but certainly has more backing and funding than truly independent media. They are now saying all of this stuff. I mean, you listen to Charlie Kirk at Turning Points USA. It sounds like a political cesspool broadcast. And yeah, I can tell you 3 or 4 years ago,
and by the way, good for them.
Well, exactly. But 3 or 4 years ago, that wasn't the case. But I can tell you with certainty, 10 years ago, it wasn't even close. Nobody was doing it then. This is a new phenomenon as the last couple of years. So when you hear the president say, talk about white genocide in South Africa, I can tell you nobody was talking about that 10 years ago except for precious few of us. And you just always have to wonder, and again, that's all we can do, how much of the stuff that groups like ours, media outlets like ours have done that has permeated into the consciousness of the administration, even if it's not ever
well, and that just shows how valuable what we do really is, because at first it's the fringes, but then we get proven right time and time and time again. And I'm going to be proven right on this big beautiful bill. It's going to spend us into oblivion, and most of the savings are not going to happen. Write it down and remember who warned you first. Anyway, what do you think? Do you want Donald Trump Jr. to run for president?
Well, what about alternatives? I would say yes. I would say probably. Yes. I would say yes.
I agree. Because will he be perfect? No. Will there be a lot of complaints and concerns? Yes. Will he be better than anybody else I can think of that can actually have the mojo to get it done? Yes.
And it would be A continuation of, if it's a continuation of the current trajectory, I would certainly prefer that than a regression back to where it had been all those years prior.
Amen. Maybe we need to get Donald Trump Jr. back on the show with us and talk about it.
At this point,
they
Sam,
attacked us
I
a
am
decade ago over this issue, but now your dad's leading with it. Let's talk about it, Donald Jr.
I can tell you that there are MAGA tier media that is much more out there on the issues than we are now. I mean, we actually couch, not couch, but we are a little more diplomatic in our discussion of issues, a little more professional in our delivery.
And I don't think so. I don't think that he has the willingness to do that. Time will tell, and I pray he does, because I believe we could be great allies. I think we could help Donald Trump Jr. become president. I think Donald Trump Sr. has done a lot of good for the presidency. I know you say, well, Sam, you just criticized him, for the last 2 hours. I don't think so. I'm criticizing the big, beautiful bill, and I'm criticizing this idea that we're not going to have accountability and transparency on the criminal activity around Joe Biden. Okay, but I think Trump's done a lot of good. I think Trump Jr. will do a lot of good also. He's very intelligent.
Oh, he is, and again, you don't take things personally. Politics is politics, and power politics is, it's not your neighborhood church club meeting. But that was the whole thing in the media back in those days, Sam. And outside of that interview, I mean, they kept it in the news the whole 2016 election cycle. I mean, all the way through that interview, and that was the whole thing. Did he come on with us to signal to what has now become the Republican grassroots base? An underserved part of the Republican
and not
coalition.
With the way they claim that it happened, but yes, in reality, he wanted to court voters, and he knew where they were.
That's right, and that's what's been said so many times. They were courting the Buchanan vote, the energetic but underserved portion of the Republican Party, and now the Republican Party has been remade in, by and large, I mean, not exactly, not a carbon copy, but by and large, in that mold. And of course, we, as small as we may be compared to some of these other, Fox News, for instance, we had a direct line to this base. And
when you listen to the things we say, eventually things happen. I mean, Trump did the new media thing. I talked about that forever. I was the one saying Trump needed to create his own wire service and at least let us hear his side of the story. They did just that. You can say, well, Sam, you don't deserve credit for it. Fine, I don't care. I talked about it and it happened. So give me credit or not, doesn't matter. The good news is things are happening. Elon Musk is a little bit of a concern to me. I'll have a lot of respect for him if he turns back on James's X account. Until then, I'm not so.
I've been trying.
I'm not so fond of him. But here's the deal: Elon Musk now in the news. He basically said, "Hey, I'm going to save $2 trillion." Then he said $1 trillion. Now it's $165 billion, and that's even at best. So he really failed miserably at this. But here's the interesting headline on Elon Musk: Musk, quote, retreating from Washington, says he'll spend a lot less on politics. Now, you know that for you and I, there's rules of how much we can put into a political campaign, right? There's limits and all that kind of stuff. But listen to this. He spent hundreds of millions to elect President Trump. But now he's less visible in Washington, and he says he'll spend less on future elections. He's even been talking less about Trump on his X social media platform. And so you look at that and you go, what's up with that? I have a limit, but he spent hundreds of millions to elect Trump, just like Facebook Mark. What's that guy's name? Mark
Zuckerberg.
Okay, he spent hundreds of millions. Now Musk spent hundreds of millions, and Musk beat Zuckerberg this last election. How do they spend all that kind of money when you and I have all these limits, James? Again, we're not going to talk about it. It's fraud. It's the deep state against us all, right?
Well, I mean, they do it by setting up PACs, which can take in limitless amount of money.
So we just play games with words and numbers.
That's right. It's a game.
That's right. And
sure.
We just lie. Okay, well, until that's going to stop, you're not going to gain any ground. The lobbyists control everything.
Well, I'm glad that Musk did what he did with his money and he was able to do it, or else it would have been the same. It would have been Kamala and it would have been Hillary. But of course, Musk didn't.
And I wonder if Kamala or Hillary were president right now, if our base would actually be standing up and doing more. Now that Trump's in office, everybody just wants to go back to sleep.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's doing quite a bit that they want. We certainly have to go back. There is an energy on the right, and again, we're going to be talking this weekend about a big push in Europe for remigration of. I mean, they got a big problem with illegals there. Over there, it's mostly Muslims, whereas over here, of course, it's people from Central and South America. But they got the same problems over there with just the nations and cultures being flooded, and there is some energy, I mean, that Trump has propelled with regards to, hey, you can secure a border. Now, we need more with deportations and things like that. But with regards to Musk, I mean, this is a guy, he was on pace to become the world's first trillionaire. I think, he was worth hundreds of billions of dollars. He has lost billions and billions and billions of dollars as a result of this. But again, how many billions do you have to get by? I get that. But still, he's stuck his neck out, and he has paid a price. There's no doubt about that. His bottom line with Tesla and all his stocks, I mean, they have taken a surefire beating this last year. And anyway, overall, I am thankful for him. Or can you find reasons to criticize? Absolutely. But has he been a net positive for America compared to what we would have had without him and Trump? I think both of them have been.
Well, and I'm grateful for any cuts he can make happen. $165 billion, we'll take it. It's better than nothing. I'm just telling you, this is the overpromise, underdeliver scenario, though, that's problematic to say the least. And I don't want any single person spending billions of dollars or hundreds of millions, whatever you want to say, to elect people to office. I don't really want that. I think we're going south when that happens. Because it becomes really then the elections are to the highest bidder. And then we run around and say there's no election tampering at all.
Right. I mean, you're talking about campaign finance reform, which is always, it's like term limits. It's like something that it's always talked about, but nothing's ever really done. Yeah, we're capped at depending on the election, $1,000, $3,500. But if you have a PAC, if you just go in and incorporate yourself as a PAC, you can do $1 trillion, and that's all fine. So again, that has never made sense to me.
It's a farce, and it's the deep state that perpetuates it, and no one has the guts to challenge it and to stop it and to do something different. So we're going to get what we've always got if we keep doing what we've always been doing. Nancy Mace, representative of what? South Carolina in the news, James. Have you seen this?
Well, so she was going to go topless or pose nude? Is that what you're talking about?
Nancy Mace of South Carolina displayed naked photos of herself Tuesday during a congressional hearing. Yeah. She's been classing with this Republican Attorney General Alan Wilson of South Carolina about this. He won't prosecute. She says it's wrong, and these people are taking pictures of these naked women without their consent and everything else, and all this kind of stuff. And so it's a big old battle. Imagine you're in Congress, though, and one of your colleagues just puts up naked pictures of herself, I don't know how to respond to all this, but man.
It's a different world, I will just say. Nancy Mace is no Anna Paulina Luna, but I guess if we're going to be doing that, it's better her than Nancy Pelosi.
Okay. I'm just saying I understand her point, but I got a little bit of a problem with putting up those pictures for more people to see.
So I guess everybody in Congress has seen her in her birthday suit then.
Exactly what that all means in detail. I haven't seen it, so I don't have the good descriptions for you. All I'm telling you is this. Is that the lengths we got to go to bring issue to women and children that are being abused and trafficked and photos taken without their consent and revenge porn and AI this and that? And Melania Trump is the one that's been standing up against this the most.
There is still no I was watching a documentary on this just last night. There is still no federal law on so-called revenge porn, which is where you just take, pictures that you either acquired or stole or whatever and just posting them. That's actually not a federal offense, if you can believe it. Well, that's another thing. That's a totally separate issue. I mean, yeah, I can absolutely. I mean, it depends on which program you use. Some are better than others. But on the top level AI photo generators, you cannot tell the difference at all. It's completely real.
Well, and
I don't know what you're going to do with that.
You ain't seen nothing yet in terms of the capabilities of this going forward.
Oh, it's still so new,
right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's still just the first minutes of dawn with AI. It's not even. in its first hour. It's newborn technology. I don't even know what's going to happen in the next few years as fast as this is accelerating. I mean, there could be some good things
soon,
too.
AI will do all the voting, and you don't have to vote or pass any bills or read anything. You just let AI.
I thought it already was. I thought we already had computers doing the voting, but well, we've this goes back to that conversation we had driving back from the baptism in Missouri about the Terminator 2 future.
James thinks computers are going to take over the whole world, and I'm not buying it.
Terminator 2 with these skeletal robots killing everybody. I don't know about that, but it's I don't think anybody really knows what they're going to be capable of.
So the question becomes with Nancy Mace, do you think anything will come out of her efforts?
Are people going to stop posting, pornographic pictures? I doubt it. I mean, there are state laws in 48 states against what she's talking about, but there are no federal laws. And
the laws aren't working for her because she's trying to have accountability and she can't get anywhere. So she's resorted to, putting on the screen for all of Congress naked pictures of herself.
Well, I'm sure by putting them out there publicly, she's not going to do herself any favors of keeping those off the internet. I would imagine. I read these articles about her doing this, or I think it was in advance of her doing it, that she was about to do it and why she was doing it. But of course, I haven't seen the images. I would imagine they would blur them out. But
now let me be very clear. I think that she's on to something when we say, hey, you shouldn't be allowed. There should be prosecutable, reality on this stuff. You shouldn't be able to do this to people. I agree with her general point. I just question her way of going about it, right?
Well, I think what she's trying to do, obviously, is stand in solidarity with these victims, and
but by shock and awe, I don't know that that's helpful.
It's unique, that's for sure. That's why we're talking about it, and that's why it's all over. Here's the Daily Beast headline: Nancy Mace parades her own naked photos in bizarre hearing. So,
and my response is this: our prayers are that we can turn to God Almighty, and that we can hold the moral high ground. God put guidelines in place about a lot of this kind of stuff, about our behavior and about how we should act and be, and our prayers are with Nancy. I think that she's been wronged and she's striking out the best way she knows how, probably. And it's a sad tale of our society. And the reason I bring this up at the end of the show is, hey, the reason we've got all these problems is because the immorality of the people. And I'm not talking about Nancy personally. I'm just saying in general, we got an immoral population, and therefore, hey, when our government mirrors that, don't be surprised, people.
If you could have the silver bullet to rectify any one issue of your choosing, and I mean you get to dictate exactly what's going to happen on this issue, you speak it, it happens like a genie in the bottle. But you got to post a nude. What do you do?
But I got to post a nude?
you got to send some nude pictures to Congress in order to get it done. I
got to post nude pictures of Congress. I would not play ball.
But you can do anything you want. Well, I guess you're getting a better deal than she, because she's not actually going to be able to do anything about this, but except make some headlines.
No, I wouldn't
anyway,
do it.
So that's a hypothetical.
I wouldn't do it. Now, if you said I could do whatever I want to and I don't need to post nude pictures, I just had control what issue would be at the top of my list, I'd abolish the Federal Reserve.
All right, but if you can abolish the Federal Reserve, but it's going to cost you a nude. I mean, that's not that bad of a deal.
Can't do it. Won't do it. Don't believe it.
I'm teasing in part. This is a hypothetical thought exercise, but
your point is valuable in that. Hey, what are we gaining by doing that? And see, that's the thing. I don't think Nancy's gaining what she hopes to gain. I appreciate her plight and I care, and I think her issue is valid and important. But I don't know that posting nude pictures of yourself is going to help.
I don't know if it furthered her cause. It definitely it raised awareness.
You'll have a bunch of perverted congressmen trying to proposition her now. Hey, we've already seen you naked. Let's see it again. All I'm telling you is I just don't see how going down that road is very helpful.
Yeah, she did it to raise awareness, and she's done that. And at what cost? That's the debate.
And I hope and pray that we as a people move towards repentance and towards God Almighty, because that's where real solutions lie. God, family, and country. Thank you, James.
I love you, Sam. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless all you're doing. Support his work at libertyroundtable.com.
James Edwards, thepoliticalcesspool.org. Check out his incredible award-winning show every weekend or on demand at your fingertips. God save our republic.